It's perfect for, I sent Margot what the topic was today, and it's You Can Heal Your Life, the power of affirmations. And it came about because Louise Hay passed away on August 30th of this year. And that day, that next Sunday, I was doing a talk, and I included a little bit about Louise and how what an incredible force and power she has been in so many lives, millions of lives across the planet. But I didn't feel like I had time to give it justice and to do right by Louise, because I know as sure as I am breathing that I wouldn't be standing here without having discovered Louise Hay's You Can Heal Your Life. So as we talked about that day, in 1988, when she appeared on Phil Donahue and Oprah in the same week, I was living in New York City in the middle of the beginning of the HIV crisis and had recently been diagnosed as HIV positive. And Louise Hay's work was the only lifeline that existed. The only lifeline for so many people. But more than that, she was perfect timing, because she was out preaching about how you can heal yourself from disease and you can heal your life long before the HIV and AIDS crisis came along. But it was the perfect answer at the time. She used to do something in LA, where she lived, called hay rides. I don't know if many of you have ever heard of her hay rides, but hay rides were a way of people to come together who were desperate and trying to seek answers and not getting it from the medical establishment, to come together and to use the power of affirmation and to look at ingrained beliefs and desires to change your life. So you would go on a hay ride, you'd sit with Louise Hay and illuminate that which was blocking your good and lift up in affirmation things that could shift your life. And as I was rereading the book this week, I was astonished at how much it was a precursor to so many people that have come after. She has a whole section of her book called Is It True? And of course I was thinking of the work of Byron Katie that we've done here, and asking the questions, is that true? Is that absolutely true? And if we can start to do that again, to examine all of our thoughts and our repetitive thoughts, which become ingrained as beliefs, and then those beliefs drive our behaviors, and those beliefs and behaviors then become our life, because that's all that it is a constant repetition of beliefs and behaviors into things. And these principles that Louise taught were not new. They were new to new thought, and they were not new to the planet. But she packaged them and presented them in a way that was so accessible. As I was rereading the book, I did a search, a word search on the electronic version, and I searched the word God. And the only place the word God appears in her whole book is in reference to what you think God is, to your beliefs of a punishing God or a loving and affirming God. It doesn't talk about God as being the power that heals you, but your beliefs about being healed is the thing that can heal you. So I have this series of Louise Hay's basic premises. It's the first section of her book. And I thought it would be kicks and giggles to go over it again. And it's like, it is Unity 101. It is New Thought 101. And I don't know about you, but I could use the refresher. Especially with everything that's going on in the world, from the natural disasters from our environment, to our political life, to our personal life, to business and corporate environment today. I could use a refresher on how I can heal my life, how I can heal my very soul. Like Marco sang for us in the opening. So the first premise that Louise believes in is life is really very simple. What we give out, we get back. What we give out, we give back. And that seems like really logical, right? Except if you reverse it and say, whatever I'm getting, I am giving out. So whatever you're getting in your life, ask yourself right now, where are you giving that same thing? If you feel like something is coming at you that's negative and hostile, self-examination type folks. Where am I negative and hostile? Who am I negative and hostile to? Because nothing exists outside of ourselves that doesn't exist within ourselves. We are one giant projector, right? These words actually don't live on that screen. They live on the computer over there. And they're projected onto it, right? Those images. And were created on my laptop at home this morning at 5 a.m. And before that, they lived in the book. And always, they live inside our consciousness. So life is really very simple. What we are experiencing, lack, poverty, disease, anger, resentment, we are holding somewhere in our consciousness. So Louise has a simple remedy for that, to acknowledge it, to do what you just all did, bravely, looked at where you might be holding that, and then to let it go and replace it with something better. And I love this affirmation. So we're going to practice a lot of affirmations today. In Louise's book, she suggests that that's what we do, that we constantly start and frame each day with affirmations and repeat them over and over again. And I was like, oh yeah, I remember when I first came to Unity, I used to do that all the time.
Post-its.
Right? Post-its of affirmations. Why did I stop? Did I think it was all done? Did I think it was fully baked? So today's first affirmation for all of us, or we've done a couple affirmations, but in this talk, I give and receive love. Now, find some place in your life that that's true. Find some part of your life that that's absolutely true, and live from that place. And affirm this with me. I give and receive love. And constantly just remind yourself of that. I give and receive love. That's what I give and that's what I receive. I give and receive love. And then her next principle that she totally believes in is the universe totally supports us in every thought we choose to think and believe.
Everyone.
Every single one of them. So if we choose to think a thought and to hold on to it and believe, the universe will support us in that. Yay! Again, it's only bad if you really look at some of the thoughts we're thinking. They're out to get me. Life is hard. Life, I can't get the right job. Right? I'm not worthy of that person, that position, that home. So how do we release that? Release it by knowing the truth. The truth that the universe supports us in whatever we choose. And that once again we can always choose. Because Louise also goes on to say that the universal power never judges or criticizes us. Right? So it's not going to call you bad. It's not going to call you wrong. It's not going to call you evil for believing that the world is against you or that life is hard. It just will show you all the evidence that you desire for that. And I had a great reminder of that this morning, and I've been experiencing it. J.C. Young is for the people who don't know, is my foster son, and he's 4 years old, and he's come from a very rough background. And we had to correct him about something this morning, and I've noticed this whenever I correct him, he says back to me, am I bad? Am I bad? Yeah. Right? I was like, no, but you could choose to do this differently. You are good. And I constantly affirm, you are good. You are God's perfect child. But we all make choices. It doesn't make us bad. So to all the 4-year-olds in here, to all of our 4-year-olds, I say, no, you are good. You are so good. And careful what you choose, because you get the results of whatever you choose. But you are good. So, Jason doesn't know this, so I have some cone of confidentiality again. He's going to be leaving us soon. All good. All good. Probably moving on to an aunt who's going to take care of him. Right? We're going to meet her soon and start developing them a relationship. so we don't get to keep him. But I want him to go away with knowing that he's good. And somewhere down the line, if he doesn't remember me, he'll remember I am good. Right? So, an affirmation for all of us who are in that moment of realizing how good we are is I am safe and supported. Together, and we know this for Jason and for all of us. I am safe and supported. Once again. I am safe and supported. And most of us have foolish ideas about who we are, and many foolish about who we are, and many, many rigid rules about how life ought to be lived. Not anybody in unity, right? So just check yourself when you walk in here. It's like, what's the list? And I do it. I walk in the door. What's the list of things that should be different around here? What's the list of how other people should behave when you walk into work? What's the list of how things should be different with the people you live with? And how they should behave in the common space? And so many of us have those rules because we were taught them. We were taught them at a very early age. And one of the amazing exercises that Louise does to help us cleanse that, I'm going to ask us to do right now. So flip over your bulletin if you have it handy, or if you just want to do it in your mind, that's fine too. But I'm going to say this statement, and I want you to fill in the blank. Okay? Clean slate. Just 2 words I'm going to say. You ready? You finish this sentence. I should. I should. What comes to mind? What's the first thing? Don't judge it. Just write it down. I should. I should. So once you have 1 or 2 or 10, right? I'm going to ask you, why? Just look at your first one. Why should you do that? Right? And brilliant self-examination. Is it because, oh, my mother taught me that? Or I think I'm going to be more successful if I do that? Any one of those are possible. So then the next question is, well then why haven't you? If you think I would be more successful if I did that, what's stopping you from doing it? If you could remove the should and replace it with a choice, would it be easier to do that thing? I could clean up my closet. I could be kinder to the people I love. I could be kinder and gentle to myself. All those possibilities live in when we release the idea that we know how it should be lived, how others should be doing things, and just concentrate on ourselves. We learned all these things from the results of our upbringing, but all the adults around us, and as I illustrated with the story about Jason. And the great thing about parenting little ones at my advanced age is that I have just a little more life experience than I did in my 20s. If I had been raising this little one when I was 20 years old, I would have messed up a lot more than I'm messing up at the moment, right? Because I hope I've learned a little bit of patience and forgiveness for myself. So this is an opportunity for all of us to realize that we were taught by people who were doing the best they could with what they had, and they were doing it for our own good. No matter what, they thought, most of the time thought they were doing it for our own good. So whatever the situation of your upbringing was, I want you to know that the point of power is this present moment. And the past has no power over you. You get to reshape it. So whatever that story was that you were told, the only power it has over you is you're the one bringing it forward today. As you become conscious of why you've got your list of shoulds, you can release them and say, the past has no power over me. Can you think about that? If you could really believe that statement, wow, right? Think about that. The past has no power over me. Say it with me now. The past has no power over me. Wow. Wow. I could have had a V8. I think I'm going to have one now. Right? You're not the result of all the past things. You're the result of your thinking in this present moment. Get the difference? You're not the result of all the past thoughts. You're the result because that past doesn't exist. You are the result of what you think in the present, not the past. What you did in the past has no power. Only right now has power over you. So I say it again, it's a denial. We're using an affirmation as a denial. The past has no power over me. And when we grow up, we have a tendency to recreate the emotional environment of our early home life. Ouch. I was recently at home taking care of my mother. She's in a memory care facility now. And my brothers and sisters are all talking together about how we care for Mom. And I know many of us have had that experience of having that experience at the present moment. And I literally said to my brothers and sisters, I said, hey guys, we don't have to play the same family roles we did as a child. We can actually choose to play different roles here and now. So what we did to survive as teenagers and what we thought was best to make us safe in that time and place no longer has to be the ruling order. So if that were true, what would we want to be? Who would we want to be? And my, judgment, go back a couple slides, and my judgment about what other people should be doing was fully evident to myself in that moment. But I was trying to create a space for myself to change and for them to change with love and compassion, because we're all just doing what we know, what we've been taught or believe. And when we can really get that this is only a belief that I've bought into, that it may not be true, capital T true, then I can choose again. Have the VA. Right? So, I love this one. It is safe to look within. It is safe to examine my thoughts and behaviors. It is safe to do this kind of shadow work, this self-examination. Know that with me. It is safe to look within. And for those of you who don't know this already, this is the safest place to do that I have ever found, other than my private therapist's office. But in a group environment, for practically free, that you can come here and do that work and have your true self reflected to you, has been the greatest gift of my life. And the only thing we're ever dealing with is a thought. Do I hear objections to that? I thought I heard someone almost speak out loud, right? Is that right? If you want to. The only thing we're ever dealing with is a thought, and a thought can be changed, right? So look at the hurricanes that were just happening. I turned on the news and I was like, Category 5, about to strike, devastation about to rain down, all physically true. There was a hurricane coming. We have the technical, logical equipment, the scientific equipment, the advantages now to see it coming. But most of the news was thoughts of this is what has happened in the past, this is what is going to happen now, and they were all projections of doom and gloom. We should all heed warnings for our safety. Don't get me wrong. But a lot of what's spun in our lives today by the 24-hour news cycle and by newspapers and by our dear and loving friends is catastrophe. Is utter catastrophe and ruin. And mostly that's what we're dealing with. So how do we change that? Instead of looking at the problem, look at the solution. And some of that did exist. Don't get me wrong. Some of it did exist, even in these crises. In Mexico City, they have an early warning signal now which gives people 10 to 20 seconds notice of an earthquake coming. And 10 to 20 seconds could get most of us out of this building. right? Exits, exits, in case you don't know, right? If we knew that an earthquake was coming, right? And with our technological advantages, we had predictions about where the hurricanes were going, and people could seek safety. All the positive things are coming. There's new psychological work that shows that people who plan for things to go wrong aren't negative. What they're doing is they're planning for what might go wrong so that they can live their positive life, so that they're living from what they want to do. And when we can shift it from Chicken Little, the sky is falling, to the acorn, I need to get out of the way of a hurricane. I need to make sure I have provisions for an earthquake in my house and plan. Those things that actually feed us. And we realize they're only thoughts. Because right now, we're all sitting here. The air fans are blowing. The earth is still. The sun is shining. And we're all safe. Any fear is just a thought right now. Just exists in our head. And that thought can be changed. So, my favorite, one of my favorites of all of her affirmations, these are all from her book. I am in the rhythm and flow of ever-changing life. Right? I am in the rhythm and flow of ever-changing life. When I try to hold something stuck in place is when I get into problems. So together. I am in the rhythm and flow of ever-changing life. Yeah. Amen. Believe it or not, we do choose our thoughts. I have struggled with this one. This is one of Louise's. We do choose our thoughts. Because I don't know about you, but random thoughts just seem to appear in my mind. Like, oh my God, this might happen, or this. And I was like, where did that come from? Where did that come from? And there's lots of environmental and psychological reasons that the thoughts may appear in our heads, right? They all may appear. But when we choose to repeat them, when we choose to reaffirm them over and over again, is how they crystallize into a belief. And when they crystallize into a belief, then they are affecting our lives. So we may worry about something, but we can also, in that moment, choose to look at the positive. But if we keep confirming the worry, there's not enough money. There's not enough money to pay the bills. There's not enough money to pay the bills. That negative thinking, that repetitive negative thinking, it will literally block you from seeing, and there's psychological studies that prove it, the opportunities that cross your path. Literally, good will be walking across your path and you can't physically see it. The other study was most amazing. They had newspapers. They made these fake newspapers, and they preconditioned these people who were going to be reading the newspapers with either a positive thought about opportunity and money flows to me, or that there's not enough to go around, right? And so they asked these same people to read the newspaper. Either they were affirming, my good comes to me easily, or they were saying there's not enough to go around. And they read the paper. The people who were affirming there was not enough to go around missed the ad that said, call this number and receive $500,000 for free. Right? But the people who had been affirming, there is more than enough, my good comes to me, saw the ad immediately and stopped reading the paper. The other people looked through the whole newspaper and never saw it. Literally, what we choose to think affects our potential in life. And that's where it comes down to, we are the point of power. When we choose wisely, and we choose to affirm that it is all working for me. So we say this together. I am at the point of power. I choose wisely. So a lot of Louise's work boils down to this. My innermost belief for everyone I have ever worked with, she said, is, I'm not good enough. And Brené Brown, if you know the work of Brené Brown, she's written several books and has some incredibly powerful TED Talks out there. She studies shame and guilt as part of her research studies. She talks about this too, and she calls it the imposter syndrome. So, moment of real vulnerability and honesty, folks, and I'll lead it. How many people here in your work, whatever your work may be, feel like you're faking it most of the time, or at least some of the time? Look around, look around. I'm faking it, right? That I don't know everything I'm supposed to know to do what I'm supposed to be doing, right? And that feeling, when you look at it and can be honest about that, can be, oh, hey, I'm not the only one. Put them up again. I'm not the only one who thinks I'm faking it. Oh. And as I learned from this one and from the other little ones, and we all learn from them, they can't do everything. And unless they fake it, as Roma said, her favorite new expression, I do it. I do it as she takes it away from me. And my learning as a parent is to let her do it. To let her try to do it. To let her fail at doing it. And that's what we're all doing. Yeah, I went to school for this. Yes, I have a degree in ministry. Yes, and I don't know how to do it. I'm learning on the job. You are all my guinea pigs. And I love you. I absolutely love you, and thank you for that. Thank you for supporting me and being part of this. And this attitude, if we walked into all of our work that way, I go, I am learning. It shifts everything. It goes from I'm not good enough to that I am more than enough. I am more than enough. And I deserve the best, and I expect the best now. How about we note that for ourselves? I deserve the best, and I expect the best now. How about accept and expect? Yes, the best now. Both. Thank you, Louise. And this one, I find that resentment, criticism, guilt, and fear cause more problems than anything else. Oh, and she coined the term dis-ease, right? When I'm at ease with whatever it is, the resentment, the anger, and creating the toxins in my own body. So we cross bridges, we let it go. That's why I had Margot sing it first this morning, and why we all sang it. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life. And my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. Oh, no more struggles. No more strife. With my faith, I see the light. I'm free in spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. And if God triggers you, take a look at that belief and substitute good. I'm only here for good. Yeah. Just add a vowel. I cross bridges, I release. And I cross bridges with joy and with ease. Together.
I cross bridges with joy and ease.
We can change our attitude towards the past. The past has no power over us. I am willing to change. Willingness is the key. Yes, we hold on so tight to being right. I am willing to change, but I've done it this way my whole life. And as Dr. Phil would say, how's that working for you? How's that working for you? Or, even if it's good, what more good lies on the other side of it? If you've done it this way your whole life, and there's something more that you're not expressing, you want to try something bigger, something grander, something more expansive? Or do you want to stop here? This is far enough, this is good enough. Just look at those thoughts, because those are the ingrained beliefs. I am willing to change. Willingness is everything. Together? I am willing to change. I am. You know this. I know this. If I hadn't gone through the process of change, to going to school, to learning a trade, to learning a craft, to faking it till I became it, we'd be standing where we are, none of us. So to release the past, we must be willing to forgive, to give forward, to give for our freedom, to release people we are holding prisoners in our mind, to release ourselves from what we are holding prisoners in our mind. In 2 weeks, I do a talk on forgiveness because it's an affirmation. We're going to say it, but it is more than a one-time affirmation, right? Forgiveness is a process. But we start by today saying, I forgive with ease and grace. I forgive with ease and grace. Even if it's that small. Forgive with ease and grace. Magnanimity. Graciousness. That's incredibly powerful. And all disease comes from a state of unforgiveness. So I started this talk by saying that I was HIV positive, right? And I am really clear that I got a sexually transmitted disease because of my internalized shame about who I am as a gay man, right? That hasn't fully released it from me. If you take my blood right now and do a test on it, it will still show some antibodies for the HIV virus, but I have been positive for 30 years and never exhibited any symptoms because I found the work of this amazing woman, and I forgave myself, and I forgave others, and I'm still working on it, and I'm still working on it, and one day I hope to stand up in front of you and say it is totally gone and eradicated from my body because it has been eradicated from my consciousness. Right? And for myself and for the planet.
Yes.
So whatever it is that you're holding in disease in your body, whatever it is, whether it be a hangnail or a cancer diagnosis or an AIDS diagnosis, I'm standing up here to tell you that as you clear your consciousness and do this important work and do this work of affirmations, you can be freed and you can heal your life and heal the planet. There are people who consciously do this every day. I want to reaffirm that that is my life's work. I started with this book. I started with this work. And it still is important in my life. So I don't know when or how, but as I was reading this week saying, we need to do a book study on this. We need to do a book study on You Can Heal Your Life. And so we're going to work it out. Either I will do it, or Laura will do it, or somebody will do it. I'm speaking for her right now. You can see her going, what? Yeah? You do it? Okay, so we'll talk after, and we'll put it into the schedule this fall. That we have a book study on You Can Heal Your Life, and we can all get back to basics of knowing I am healthy, whole, and complete. I am healthy, whole, and complete. Margot, I am healthy, whole, and complete. I am healthy.